This is the Bagdogra Airport in Siliguri in West Bengal. Our tour manager guided us to the car, and in no time we started the exciting journey to the great Himalayan town Darjeeling. Passing by the busy Siliguri city, we reached this beautiful countryside with leafless trees on either sides and the grand Himalayas in the backdrop. Further down, we took a diversion to Kurseong and started climbing up. It was an interesting drive with varying terrains and changing weather conditions. This town, seen at a distance located in the valley, is Kurseong, and we reached there in 1.5 hours from Siliguri. It is the headquarters of the very popular Darjeeling Himalayan Railways that runs between New Jalpaiguri and Darjeeling. Majority of the rail track in its 88-kilometer stretch runs parallel to the road. And in 15 minutes, we reached Sonada, which is also a fairly big town en route. From Sonada, it took us half an hour to reach Gum. This is the Gum railway station that holds the record of being the highest railway station in India at an elevation of 2,258 meters. Finally, we reached Darjeeling in just half an hour from Gum, and its beautiful valleys started getting visible. So once again, welcome to my new vlog on Darjeeling. By then, it was around 4 p.m. and we directly checked into the hotel. The hotel looked very beautiful with a mix of Western architecture elegantly decorated with flower plants all around. The thing which attracted me the most was its location, opening to the majestic view of the grand Himalayan valleys. The whole atmosphere was quite peaceful and we continued exploring it. This corridor, overlooking the Himalayan mountain ranges and the valley beneath, is nicely designed with wooden panels, giving it an impressive look. This property is owned by a Tibetan family, and hence there were a lot of beautiful Buddhist artifacts, including a miniature model of Tibet. We ordered some light snacks to the room, and while waiting for it, we continued enjoying the serene ambience of the hotel a bit more in detail. The knot design seen on these windows are special and very common in Buddhist structures and is called Srivatsa in Sanskrit. It is a symbol of ultimate unity of everything and even represents the intertwining of wisdom and compassion. Right after the snacks, we left to Chaurasta. Chaurasta is a historical public square in this Victorian-era hill station and is a focal center of attraction for a leisurely stroll for both the residents and tourists. The square is lined up with many prominent heritage stores and other shops selling souvenirs, accessories, winter gears, etc. Also were many local street food vendors serving hot momos and other local stuffs. In short, we truly enjoyed the evening in this bustling street life. By around 8 p.m., we returned to the hotel. The dining was on the first floor, beautifully decorated with unique Tibetan art forms and designs. we had already confirmed our dinner and even the menu before we started to Chaurasta. Had a tasty dinner after a long day and then hit the bed. The next day, we started early morning around 4 to the Tiger Hills. There was a huge crowd and all seemed pretty excited to see the sunrise from this highest viewpoint in Darjeeling at an elevation of 2590 meters. It was absolutely a spectacular sight of the Mount Kanchenjunga getting lit by the first rays of the rising sun. From there, we resumed our journey to the Samten Choling Monastery in Goom. Just outside the monastery, there were many local vendors serving hot breakfast. We couldn't resist skipping it as we were already hungry by that time. Had a few veg momos and then walked straight to the monastery. It is one of the very well-known Buddhist monasteries in Darjeeling, built in 1875 and famous for the 15 feet tall statue of Maitreya Buddha. The monastery is also said to have a rich collection of very rare Buddhist artifacts. From there, we drove to the Batasya Loop. It is a spiral railway track built to lower the gradient of ascent of the Darjeeling Himalayan Railways or the DHR. The DHR is one of the world's highest railway lines built by the British way back in 1881. In 1999, UNESCO declared the Darjeeling Himalayan Railways as a World Heritage Site. It also has a war memorial at its center, adorned with a fine garden around it. This war memorial was built in 1995 to honor the Gurkha soldiers of Darjeeling who sacrificed their lives for the nation. We were also fortunate to clearly see the distant snow peaks of the Kanchenjunga and her surrounding peaks of Kumbhakaran, Kabru and Pandim, which together form what the Buddhists in India and Nepal term as the Sleeping Buddha. It was interesting to watch this beautiful DHR toy train moving around this Batasya Loop and climbing up the hill. This reminded me of my trip to Jungfrau in Switzerland, which is the highest railway station in Europe, located at an elevation of 3,454 meters, ranking the 8th highest in the world. I have also done a video on my incredible trip to Jungfrau. You may find its link in the description below. After this, we resumed our journey through the busy narrow streets of Darjeeling, crossed the St. Andrew's Church, which is one of the oldest Anglican churches in India, built in 1843 for the Scottish soldiers. In a short while, we reached the Darjeeling Zoological Park, which is famous as the largest high-altitude zoo in India, and it is named after Padmaja Naidu, who is the daughter of Sarojini Naidu. It also specializes in captive breeding of many endangered species like the snow leopard, the red panda, and the Himalayan wolf. It has a rich collection of species found in the Himalayan ranges, starting with a section on birds and then a display of other Himalayan wildlife like the yak, the black panther, the leopard, the snow leopard, the bear, the Himalayan tahr, the blue sheep, the Tibetan wolf, the red panda, and also a section on reptiles. From the zoo, we went to the Himalayan Mountaineering Institute, or the HMI, which is one of the premier mountaineering institutes in the world, founded by Jawaharlal Nehru in November 1954 to commemorate the first successful ascent to Mount Everest by late Tenzing Norgay along with Sir Edmund Hillary on 29 May 1953. The HMI plays a 15 minutes video on a mountaineering expedition and also includes a museum with various mountaineering exhibits. A miniature model of the whole Himalayan range displaying all the prominent peaks is also a notable attraction here. On our way back from HMI, we got an incredible sight of the Darjeeling Valley. Later, we continued our journey to experience the ropeway ride, which is one of the key attractions here. This famous St. Joseph's Boarding School is very close to the Rangit Valley passenger ropeway station at Singamari. One of the best ways to explore and experience the beauty of Darjeeling is by taking a ride in the ropeway. From an elevation of 2,134 meters at Singamari in Darjeeling, the ropeway descends to 244 meters at Singla with a total of 8 kilometers with 2 intermediate stations, namely Tukwar and Bernesburg. But now, this is cut short and the cars return from Tukwar. As the cable car glided over the beautiful hill station, it unfolded the real beauty of Darjeeling with picturesque views of the stunning landscapes, the vibrant valleys, the tantalizing views of the snow-clad mountain peaks, and the vast tea estates. This is the first cable car system in India, started in 1968 to cater to the needs of the tea gardens. The entire region below has a forest cover of around 1,500 acres. Tea tourism is a flourishing concept here, where you can experience staying in a nice heritage colonial bungalow inside a sprawling tea estate, spending your time in the expanse of the serene tea garden. Getting up in the morning, sipping a cup of the finest aromatic tea from the garden, strolling through the vast estate, experiencing the real life here, and learning how to pluck the leaves with a bud, and having food made from fresh organic produce straight from the backyard garden is something which is remarkable. In between, noticed a big Buddha statue in one of the tea estates. Following an unfortunate accident in 2003, the ropeway remained closed for a long time and was reopened around 2012. After enjoying a refreshing ride, we took a short stroll in the Rangit Tea Estate. It was certainly a heavenly experience in the valley, seeing the Himalayan range far away. Darjeeling is said to be the mecca of tea, with around 80 operational tea estates spanning across thousands of acres on the wide open hill slopes facing the vast snow-covered Himalayan peaks at the horizon. It is also one of the very few places where you may enjoy tourism with a mixture of colonial heritage entertained with local flavor. Later, we continued our journey to the final destination of the day, which was the Japanese Peace Pagoda. En route, we saw this Tenzing rock named after Tenzing Norgay. This massive rock is used for training purposes by HMI, and even a rock climbing competition is held here every year by the Indian Army. Within 10 minutes, we reached the Peace Pagoda. It is situated at the extreme end of the road on a hill with a very tranquil atmosphere surrounded by tall trees. This Peace Pagoda is said to have been built under the supervision of a Japanese Buddhist monk. Right at the entrance is the monastery, built in a traditional Japanese style. When we visited the prayer hall on the first floor of the monastery, we were invited to join the prayer, giving a drum pad and a stick. All were supposed to match the rhythm of the prayer the chief priest was offering by beating his huge drum. From the monastery, we continued exploring this revered place, which is a symbol of spirituality and peace. The key attraction here is the Buddhist stupa, which is one of the tallest structures in Darjeeling, built in 1992. The majestic white exterior with two magnificent statues of lions on either sides of the staircase, the four golden statues representing the four different avatars of Buddha, and the beautiful sandstone carvings in between makes the whole stupa really impressive. A walk around the pagoda would take you through the life of Buddha depicted in the sandstone etchings resembling wood carvings. From there, we returned to the hotel, ending a long day. It was a very pleasant evening, and since we were tired of a long trip starting early morning, we decided to spend the rest of the day in the hotel garden itself. The next day, we woke up to a beautiful misty morning. We all were quite excited seeing this atmosphere covered with thick mist, and the whole ambience looked so different than the previous day. Everything was unclear and obscure in this misty environment that we couldn't even see a few meters ahead of us. Had the breakfast and started to Mirik, crossed the Gum station and then continued our journey. As you may notice, the mist lasted for few hours and the visibility was only just few meters, which then slowly cleared off. The chillness and the freshness of air boosted up our energy to start a new day. We reached our first destination, which was the Simana viewpoint. It is one of the very popular viewpoints in the Indo-Nepal border on the way to Mirik. Though this road belongs to India, the view area falls in Nepal. It offers a breathtaking view of the surrounding plains, snow-capped Kanchenjunga, and even tiny hamlets of Nepal. We could also get a rare sight of the thick clouds floating below us. This is a close view of a Nepal town from Simana Point. Right from Simana Point, the road runs parallel to the Indo-Nepal border, and at some points, even the immediate right of the road falls under Nepal territory. In just few minutes of drive, we reached the Pashupati Nagar, where the India-Nepal border station is located. Actually, Indians and Nepalis can cross this border freely by showing their photo ID cards, but we thought to cover this on the way back and continued our trip to Mirik. Crossed the SSB camp. The SSB, or the Sahastra Seema Bal, provides a strong security cover in the Indo-Nepal border, keeping a strict eye on people crossing the border. All along the route, we came across many sprawling and spectacular tea gardens and even saw a lot of tea pluckers with tea plucking baskets on their back going for plucking. covered the Gopal Dara tea estate, and then further down saw the Turbo tea estate located in the lush picturesque valley en route. This Turbo tea estate is said to have been planted in 1872, covering close to 500 hectares, and is one of the most famous tea gardens in the world. It is actually owned by an international group, Camellia plc, listed in the London Stock Exchange and governed by Godric Group in India. Finally, we reached Mirik. It is one of the popular tourist destinations for its climate and natural beauty. We took a horse ride and then spent some time walking around the lake. It is a picturesque spot nestled in the serene hills of Darjeeling district. The key attraction here is the Sumendu Lake, with a garden on one side and a vast pine forest on the other side, connected together by an arch-foot bridge called the Indrani Pul in the local language. Indrani Thapa was a martyr soldier of INA. A 3.5 kilometer stretch of road encircles the lake. The name Mirik comes from the Lepcha word Miryok, meaning place burnt by fire. Though the climate was clear and sunny, within no time it changed and started raining cats and dogs, so took shelter under a small shade on the lakeside, enjoying the serene ambience. It was absolutely a stunning sight of heavy clouds moving in and engulfing the whole area. Waited there for some time for the rain to settle and then returned from this amazing place. On the way back, as planned, we took a small halt at Pashupati Nagar, completed all the formalities with the border security, and crossed the border to Nepal. Here, Indians generally take a taxi and go to Pashupati Market, located around a kilometer from the border. We took the taxi and reached the market area. The main attractions here are a small market and the Pashupati temple. We bought a kukri, which is a traditional knife used by Nepali Gurkhas, and then visited the Pashupati temple. This road through Pashupati Nagar goes all the way to Kathmandu. By then, it was around 4 p.m. and we returned, ending our second day in Darjeeling. The next day was very clear and sunny, unlike the previous day, and to our surprise, we were awestruck seeing the Kanchenjunga range very clearly right from the hotel itself. The name Kanchenjunga is derived from 4 words of Tibetan origin, usually rendered as Kangchenjunga, interpreted in Sikkim as the 5 treasuries of the Great Snow. This sacred mountain holds an important place in the mythology and religious rituals of the local inhabitants. After enjoying the mesmerizing views of this mighty Himalayas, we started to Dali Monastery, which was our final destination in Darjeeling, after which we departed to Sikkim, which would be covered in another vlog. This colorful archgate at the entrance of Dali Monastery itself is a very impressive sight, followed by a series of beautiful paintings on the inner walls of the driveway depicting the life and journey of Lord Buddha. As this monastery is built atop a hillock, it offers an incredible sight of the surrounding Darjeeling valleys. It is one of the largest monasteries built in 1971 in a typical Tibetan architectural style, painted with an appealing combination of red, yellow, and white colors. The highest spiritual leader of Tibet, His Highness Dalai Lama, had been here for 3 days in 1993 in connection with a session on teaching Tibetan Buddhism and culture. The prayer hall inside is gorgeously adorned with bright murals and gigantic golden statues. Yet another attraction here is the 6 feet high golden Tibetan prayer wheels. With this, we ended 3 unforgettable days in this scenic hill station. Thank you for traveling with me. Please also watch my other travel vlogs. The links are given in the description below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more videos.